Our first presenter is Sarah Pollock, and Sarah is the Executive Director of Research and Advocacy at Mind Australia. She has had experience as an executive in community services and mental health sectors over 15 years, and she's had a particular focus on working with people from different sorts of marginalised communities. Most recently, she's led a 2-year program of research in partnership with Parity on the intersections between mental health and housing and homelessness. So Sarah, great to have you here with us this morning. Thanks for Mind's support for the edition, and very interested to hear about Mind's view about housing and support models.
Thanks, Jenny. Hello, everybody, and it's great to see so many people online. What I'll be talking about this morning is actually drawn from the 2-year program of work that Jenny's just referred to, which was a multiple streams of research, so quantitative, qualitative, work with service providers, evidence review, looking at that intersection between housing, homelessness and mental health. Before I start, I would like to acknowledge the resilience, the ingenuity, the good grace and the generosity of the more than 140 people that we talked to across Australia about their experiences of mental health and housing. I think, and in answering the question, what I'd like to do is, rather than go directly to models, is put forward a conceptual framework, because I actually think one of the things we need to do is to be able to clearly conceptualise what the intersecting housing and mental health need is. So from our trajectories research, we've been able to, and sort of reflecting and analysing that, we've been able to come up with 4 different groups of people who need a housing plus support response on the basis of their mental health. So first of all, there are people who are adequately housed and going along okay until they become unwell. And then things can deteriorate very rapidly and very quickly. So they need support to maintain their tenancy during a period of illness, in the time that they're becoming unwell, through the illness and in the time afterwards. The second group of people are people who actually need a medium-term intensive housing plus support response. They need more assistance for longer, and we would say anywhere between 2 and 5 years. We've got models in place that provide people with housing and support for up to a couple of years, for instance, CCUs or some of our extended parks. But what if you're not ready to go into sort of lighter support environments then? And I would say one of the things that's critical about that model is that the housing continues as the support diminishes. So the housing stays consistent. Not like the old models of transitional housing or adult resi rehab, where when you've had your time, off you go. Cycle starts all over again. If you still need a housing and support response after 5 years, then you are NDIS eligible. That's what we would argue. So the third group are the people who need long-term housing plus support, either through SIL or possibly SDA. SDA is a greatly underexplored area, I think, for people with psychosocial disability. And the fourth group are people who are persistently homeless. Now, I understand that there are overlaps between those groups. They're not pure groups, and system failure in any one of those groups creates many more people in one of the other groups. We have kept in this fourth group of people who are persistently homeless because I actually think that some of the characteristics of those people, for instance, the amount of trauma, the length of trauma, the likely AOD use, and an extremely complex support needs, and often very poor physical health, actually mark them out for a specialist homelessness response. Whereas the other 3, I think, can be provided through a collaboration response or even a mental health response. So although we can identify those 4 different groups, what we've seen in our research is that the sorts of supports they need are the same for each of the 4 groups. They might vary in intensity or duration or in the combination that you need, that someone needs them. But very quickly, they are access first and foremost. If you do not have this, nothing else will work. Full stop. Access to safe, secure, affordable and appropriate housing. That goes on. That goes with you. Not you having to move to find something else. You need a house. You need rapid access to tenancy support when things go wrong. You need rapid access to clinical mental health care when things go wrong, as early as possible when the wheels start to wobble. You need access to wraparound psychosocial and other health supports that focus on practical issues and more than just mental health and housing. The stuff that helps you build a meaningful life, the stuff that helps you maintain your relationships, the stuff that helps you have good, interesting things to do. People also need support coordination or care coordination and assistance to navigate across multiple systems. They need connection to a trusted worker. When we talk to people across Australia, it basically didn't matter whether it's a housing worker, a mental health worker, a community worker. If you had one worker that believed you and you trusted, you tended to do much better. We need much more trauma counselling. We need much more psychological therapeutic counselling, particularly trauma counselling, that can help people deal with the underlying reasons that often drive their poor mental health and their difficulties maintaining housing. And we also need to pay attention to financial security. Those are features that we need to see provided for all of those groups. But like I said, in different combinations. Just in closing, I can't leave this without saying families and carers often get forgotten. They are often the housing provider of last resort. Things are pretty crap for them. As we think about mental health and housing responses, we must also think about the families of people who need a specific mental health and housing response. And we also need to make sure that there are enough variations for delivery to be culturally appropriate. So that's all from me. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Many thanks, Sarah, and thanks for that very clear articulation of a very sensible model